Welcome everybody for the, where are we, 23rd Townhall meeting of the Ambassador Program. I made a little agenda, as you can see on the slides. I want to go over some work groups and their progress. And you can see a couple of, well, recent ones, new ones popping up on there, which is, yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. And after the work groups, I do want to talk a bit about the pilot phase of this ambassador program and closing it. And I have some ideas about starting with cohorts from now on, in light of, well, onboarding new users and getting a bit of structure there. So that's the broad outline. Yeah, if at any point there's other topics you want to add to the agenda, just either put it in chat or give a shout. Let's see, I'll go to next slide. Yeah, little update on the work groups. Starting with the Process Guild. Today we had a bit of a chaotic meeting, but it also had some good results. We discussed a little bit about Treasury Guild, which will have its second meeting this Thursday at 17 UTC. We had, as is common in weeks like this, we had a bunch of confusion surrounding the summertime and all the good stuff. So it will be simply 17 UTC like it was 2 weeks ago. And during that meeting, for anybody interested, we discussed the reward side of what is being done for the ambassador program. So a bit of budgeting, bit of yeah, treasury management, systems, procedures. So if you're interested in that, please do join on Discord here. And additionally, for the Process Guild itself, that meeting is on Tuesdays at 10 UTC. And we also discussed the shaping up of a dedicated yeah, YouTube/social media work group. There has been some progress there, as those in the call right now are aware. Basically, we're looking to get a YouTube channel going, completely dedicated to all things ambassador program related. In a way, this stops flooding the SingularityNET YouTube channel, but it also is, yeah, just neater. It puts everything in one place. And with all these additional meetings, additional work groups spinning up, there will also be additional meetings. So yeah, at one point we simply will have like more than 50% of the SingularityNET YouTube will become ambassador program content, and that's not quite optimal. So yeah, that's a broad overview. I think I skipped out on the podcast work group right now, which is taking place on Mondays at 18 UTC. We did have a little chat. It was pretty casual. Me and Julian, we did get some progress on reaching out for upcoming interviews. Anything you want to chime in on there?
Yeah, so you know, I got back from, I was away for the previous week, and came back, been doing a little bit of work between Saturday and now. Originally, I was thinking maybe doing an interview with Peter, but after further kind of discussions on that, I think we're gonna kind of stray away from that for now. But we had talked about how it might be nice to get Jan in, and because of everything with the governance and deep funding and all the stuff kind of coming to a front with all that stuff, that it seems like it's coming to a time where it would be good to have a chat. So I have put together some questions, just so just to put the work out there, I posted both of those interview notes. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna take a backseat with the Peter interview for now, but it's there. It may happen in the future. We'll just kind of see. The Jan, questions are below that there, and as of the meeting yesterday, I still hadn't heard back from Gabriel or Diane yet, who were my next two people I had in the sites for interviews. We reached back out, Peter reached back out, and actually it was great. I did hear back late yesterday my time from Gabriel saying that he would be interested. He's actually been moving, and so that's what's been, holding him up, but he said that he would be down to do something next week. So I've since sent a message back, kind of like letting him know when some possible times would be, and I'm waiting to hear back, but that's looking like that should be happening sometime next week. And those questions and everything are already set up, and if you kind of scroll back into, I know Tevo has put a lot of that stuff in the notes that he's been taking on these, and as well as you could just kind of scroll up, all those are accessible as well if anyone's interested, or if anyone had any other questions that they wanted to add in there. I haven't actually been on the other side of it and seen. I know it's accessible to other people. I don't know that you could go in there necessarily and like start editing stuff on there, but what I would say is, if you can look through it, or if you have anything off the top of your head for anybody here now or for the future watching this back, you could just reach out to me. And it looks like Diane is also going to touch base next week as well. Just incoming news here. So if you had anything you wanted to add in, or just kind of comments on anything, then just reach out to me in Discord, specifically in like a private message or on the community podcast. Just make sure you specifically at me so I see the mention, and then we can definitely work in some more stuff as well, because this is just one mind's reflection on things that have been going on and trying to come up with stuff. So it's definitely not going to cover everything, and I'm sure it could be iterated on and expanded in a great way if other people do want to get involved with that. So I do encourage that. That's basically where we're at now. I am in the background thinking about coming up with some sort of music for the podcast as well. Just kind of iterating on some stuff and thinking about how I would want to do that. I do play a bit myself, so I think I'd like to maybe try to come up with something. I don't have any like training on that. I'm not like the best necessarily at coming up with themed type stuff like a composer would. So I'm just kind of messing around, and that's there, and eventually there'll be something. I thought maybe of bringing something I'd already been working on in the past, but I'm thinking more now it might be better to just come up with something completely original. But it's music, it's art. Who knows how long that will take, but that is something I'm working on in the background. And then a week, so like Peter and I did like an impromptu meeting before I was away on Friday, a week from this previous Friday, and then Saturday actually morning I touched base with Craig, the artist that I've been working with for the podcast, to do some of the channel art and the podcast specific stuff that we had talked about in past meetings, and had some good conversations. I've sent him like dozens of photos at this point of, just to kind of catch people up on. There's been a name change, first of all, that we've done that I came up with for the podcast, because originally it was just kind of labeled the SingularityNET Community Podcast, which was fine, but I wanted it to be kind of a little bit more of, it's basically me that's been doing it, so it's not really like been that much of a community thing. And it's not that I don't want that, but I just kind of felt like it wasn't perfectly emblematic of what is actually happening. And so we're interviewing people from, you know, the ecosystem, and I thought, okay, let's come up with something more specific, more unique than that. And so I came up with stories from the singularity, because that's kind of like what we're talking about. I know it could be a little bit of a weird way to say it, because a lot of times stories are, there's a connotation or interpretation of stories being like fake, but or like just we made up a story or something. It's sort of a fictional thing, but and then again, you know, you can recall a story from your life. It's not necessarily having to be fictional. So I just thought it had a nice ring to it. And so with that, there was the idea of coming up with some channel art, which basically was the idea I had was, at this point we're having, I think it's going to be me, Ben, and then Desdemona, the newest robot, artificial intelligence robot, from SingularityNET, all kind of like around a fire. And so it's like a campfire feel. And then they're kind of on the top of a hill. I don't know, what I've described before is, if anyone's ever played like Breath of the Wild, which is the newest Zelda from a few years ago, where he's kind of standing on the top of a cliff, and then you have everything expanding, the mountains and the valleys below expanding down, but there's like this big drop off. And then behind, or if like you've seen like a picture, there's a space in Los Angeles specifically that I know of that's like that, where you can see this really good vantage point onto the city of Los Angeles, and it's basically just being on a high perch on the edge with something behind it. And behind it, I envisioned like a kind of future city that we would have, you know, based on SingularityNET or whatever, artificial general intelligence tech, like something along the lines of the Singularious project that they're working on, like a smart city. And it's kind of new in the old. We're like recanting stories of old, maybe, or it's just kind of an idea. It's like you know. And so we've talked pretty pretty extensively about that. And since all of that's been, we've been, you know, talking about it for probably 3 weeks or more. Then they were sick for a solid week, where they were just out of commission. But they've been back on, and they've been working on it for about a week now. So I haven't gotten anything back yet from them, but I'm kind of just letting them do their thing, and then probably give them another week. If I haven't heard anything by the beginning of next week, I'll probably reach out and see where they're at and see if we can get any glimpses. They're basically working on some, I don't know exactly what the term would be, but it was basically like writing up almost like a proposal just before they completely do everything, where you can't take it back. They're gonna like show me some, like a blueprint almost of what they're thinking, and then, but I've given them a lot of extensive, like even the logo, we've talked a lot about the logo, which we thought might be cool, of having like a fire, and we're kind of iterating on it, because it's going to be a small image if it's on YouTube, or say it's on a podcast app. It's not going to be a lot of space there. So what I thought was maybe having like a fire, like a campfire as the logo, but then out of the campfire you have either smoke or part of the fire turns into like the SingularityNET logo, like the S, like the double helix S. And then I thought maybe it could be cool, like you had a couple, like say 2 or 3 different sticks with like marshmallows on it coming in from different angles, or like 2 of them maybe, and then you have stories, maybe 3, like stories from the singularity, but that might be too small for like the average person to see. So I'm kind of letting them run, because they have a lot of experience with doing that stuff, and they have kind of a better idea of what will work. So, but that's happening as well.
Like a separate, well, almost icon-like format, zooming in on a particular section of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so and then that might be completely different from like the separate image of like of the campfire and the city, and we're not sure like where it's all going to go yet. maybe like some channel, like a channel banner, maybe like an intro. We're basically doing what we can with the amount of funding we've been able to give them at this point, and we're just going to see what we can do, and then hopefully if it goes well, we can always, you know, do more in the future. Would be the goal, till we have like a full kind of whole you know, set of different images that we can use for every possible medium, you know, whether it's whatever we're using it for. But we're just kind of starting with what we can do at this moment. So yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Thanks a lot.
For sure. And then obviously it's open for anyone that wants to collaborate with stuff. We're, you know, come join up and help out with the community podcast. We're doing our meetings Mondays at it should be 18 UTC every Monday. So you can show up there or just reach out to me on Discord. It's at Julian Collins, Julian spelled with an E, not an A. That's the one thing you might get thrown off on.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks a lot for that update. And then we'll move on to well, the thing I touched on a little bit, but we can actually seeing the discussion on Discord taking place as well between well, for example, Grandano and Littlebots. I think we can take a minute or like 5 or 10 minutes perhaps on ideation for this for the social media / YouTube. Well, for example, to figure out whether to call it a social media group or a YouTube focused group. Let's see. Yeah, I introduced it a little bit, but let me quickly have a look. Or perhaps actually, Grandano, if you would fancy, you could share a bit of your vision, what you would prefer it to look like, or alternatively, Littlebots. Anybody?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think we could do like a social media work group. There's probably a lot of different social media sites that we could start covering. We can start fielding interests on people that would want to join a work group and see what time works out for everybody. Something we could think about is a good handle to have across all of our social media. Seems like most social media sites limit you to about 15 characters for your handle. And the word ambassador alone is about 10 characters. So we could start thinking about a good handle on different social media sites, fielding some interests, and then discussing a good time to meet up.
Yeah, what has worked so far for, well, for example, for the Treasury work group is getting this whentomeet.com link going so that people can indicate their preferred, well, their availability, let's say. That works. Alternatively, yeah, you can simply pick a slot with the interested people. Like Littlebots responded very positively, and I'm myself quite interested. And there might be a couple of more in the call and Discord. So if you have somewhat of a grasp of initial, like a group of initially interested people, you can also just pick a slot like that in conversation, of course. Would be pretty flexible.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, we could use that when to meet link and see if anybody joins the conversation today as well.
Yeah, cool. A little bit. Could you perhaps expand a bit on what you shared on Discord? Like you mentioned something about your background and stuff like that.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so more like what I was saying about in Discord concerning my experiences in content creating. So more like over the years, like probably I started late 2020 in content creation. I was able to master the art of graphics design, poster creation, and one-pagers. And over the years, I've been like working hand in hand with crypto projects, admins, and moderators to to create more in posters and sharing more social awareness and engagement, and also in relation with writing blogs and articles. But all of which we still need to talk more of next week when anytime we get to argue on the town hall meeting or something.
Julian is putting some suggestions for the handle in the chat. Casually advancing to level 9 on Discord in the meantime. Yeah, fair. Yeah, we need to yeah, we can simply generate a list for the handles. But yeah, the things you mentioned a little bit, that's like I would say almost pretty much all of it, like infographics, posters, one pages, blogs, articles. I would say that's all pretty spot on for what we can use. I would suggest to start a bit, like keep it manageable at the beginning. At the same time, based on the sign-ups form, there's a lot of interest on this type of work, content creation, generally speaking. So I think I don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much. I would want most of the discussion to take place in a like a dedicated meeting for this. But yeah, we simply need to come up with a plan on what we want to communicate and then fill it in with well, the type of content that we have the capacity to make. And yeah, I think it's Tuesday now at time of recording. Could try to get one in this week. Experience so far with like sending out these when to meet links is that it takes a little bit of time before, well, everybody sees it in the first place, and then response and everything gets collected. At the same time, I feel could be good to have a call already this week. Maybe a bit more on initializing than like having a full-blown first workgroup meeting. Would you be down for that? I guess both, Corondano and Little Butts?
Yeah,
that
sounds
great.
awesome.
It's a bit intermingled, but I think it's put 2 positive replies on that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Peter, what's good times for you to meet up? I know you've already got a couple meetings on your list and other work as well on your plate.
Yeah, that varies over the weeks, but basically afternoon on UTC for Friday is okay. Basically between 10 and 1 UTC, that's my less busy period. Mornings and late afternoons and evenings are quite busy.
Awesome.
But then again, I can shift around stuff if it matches more with your availability, because I do think that's more key. Like, gonna be honest here, I'm not looking to lead a social media work group.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, part of the idea is decentralization, so I would change my schedule to attend.
Well, yeah, we could see how like one UTC Friday works out with everybody and have a discussion on time for this week and then hammer out a solid time for the weeks moving ahead.
Just a quick check. Would that work for you, Little Butts?
Yes, that would be fine.
Good stuff. Then yeah, I think that's it. Let's simply do that. And would be here on Discord, so of course anybody can hop in during.
Seems ripe for some sort of collaboration at some point with the podcast too. Whether I don't know how much of a active role I would want to take, but Not that I wouldn't, but yeah, it does seem like it would be cool to do some sort of collaboration. Just kind of makes sense, you know. So we'll have to talk one way or another about that. If anyone's interested, it sounds kind of like, you know, makes sense.
Feels like a
Yeah.
no-brainer to cover ambassador program content. Definitely.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about kind of expanding out just more than doing just the podcast interviews. Like I think there's just a ton of stuff we could do, and so yeah, that's really exciting. Talking about figuring out how to expand. I have some ideas of myself, but I'm sure you guys have a bunch of stuff too. So that'll be cool.
So anyone has any additional thoughts on the topic? For now? Of course, save the best for Friday, but just to confirm, I'll put it in the ambassador program channel. All right. Then I'll move on to the next slide for now. Yes, so there's a couple of community events happening right now. For example, something I do want to call out. For those watching on YouTube, unfortunately, it's gonna be too late for you, but during the remainder of today, UTC, until end of day, the deep funding community governance vote is still live. Did anybody here vote?
Yeah, I did.
Yep.
2 out of... Well, I did as well. 3 out of...
Me too.
8. Good stuff.
But interestingly, not by myself, by a friend who has, because I didn't wanted to move my HX from my ADA to MetaMask. I said, no, fuck off, I don't do that. So, asked a friend to vote.
Yeah, that's... I wish I could snap my fingers and create support on voting on Cardano. Does look like this might be... I would be very happy if this would be achieved in during this calendar year. That looks like a somewhat reasonable timeline. But yeah, it's not in my control, of course. I'm not a dev, but yeah, it does hurt every now and then thinking about it. Like, yeah, it's not supported. It will be, but it's a process. Yeah, for example, the staking portal has full priority right now on the integration side of things. I'm curious what the results will be. I think, yeah, tomorrow at, let me say it correctly, 17 UTC, there will be a deep funding community call where the results will be shared. And I believe, yeah, the results will be shared in that community governance call before the blog post will be live about it. So if you're interested in that, do up on. And during that call, we'll also ideate a bit more on how to deal with the rewards side of things. So I think at some point during that call, there might actually be like a, I don't know, like a cutoff point, because we decided that those involved in designing the procedures for well, token rewards, there's this 100,000 AGIX tokens available for incentivizing participation. We decided that those who would be involved in designing these systems would automatically disqualify themselves from receiving these tokens. So it's going to be interesting. I think during that call tomorrow, there will be, at some point, there will be a call out like, well, pick your poison. Either help out designing the rewards, or if you want to receive those rewards, then now would be the time to leave the call. So it's gonna be a bit weird probably, but also interesting. I'm curious how that will unfold. And just for reassurance, this is purely about the AGIX token rewards. It's not about the reputation score. That will be, that will be for all participants, including those who are involved in the design of the rewards.
What time is that meeting tomorrow?
That's at 17 UTC.
Okay, cool.
And the link is usually this takes place on Zoom, and that's always that link is shared in the Deep Funding community governance channel, and also on Telegram on the Deep Funding channel there. But for sure, the beginning of the call will be more generic, about the results and what this all means, and so don't fear of joining in and automatically forfeiting your potential rewards. All right. Then I would still like to point out that there's an active open call for Mindplex community moderators. The website is, I would say, 99% ready to launch. I felt like that before, but some bugs popped up which do require fixing, and it's gonna be live very shortly. And for that website, we're looking for moderators of the community contributions and the discussions taking place there. So if you're interested in that, do shoot me a message. Then the next thing on the sheet would be the support for onboarding users. Like I saw over the past couple of days here and there, maybe onboarding is actually inaccurate, but simply having devs use the services on the platform. There's been about, I would say, 15 to 20 new services have been uploaded over the past weeks. And some of them gather interest, and yeah, I didn't really, right now at least, I don't have a fully fledged system for supporting these kind of efforts, but there's definitely a community demand for getting support working with these services, like running them locally, installing them, connecting to them through APIs. And I do think that's there's some potential for the ambassador program to support those who help out on this. So community members helping out other community members. I don't know, in the best case scenario, I guess I would like a work group for that, but myself not being a dev, that feels a little bit, it wouldn't be my forte. So yeah, I just wanted to put it out there more than anything. And then just a small sneak preview, which, well, you can read on the screen probably. Tomorrow there will be the Q3 operations update, and the loyalty rewards blog posts will be appearing on our blog. Now, I did put something in the calendar which I did not put in the sheets. That's good. Nice. Let me actually hop back a couple of pages. Basically I want to have a bit of a discussion on how you guys feel about closing the pilot phase of the ambassador program. And I don't know, I think it's starting to feel it's starting to feel to me that we can have we're reaching this point where it's kind of getting beyond pilot. I initially planned it for Q2 and 3. Well, we are in Q4 right now. Potentially, since, well, I don't know, it's kind of neat to tie it in with the closing of the year, perhaps. I think it would be nice to kind of get the pilot phase behind us and well, it ties in nicely actually with the social media work group starting, and also the treasury work group starting. So perhaps end of year makes sense for that. I don't know. I kind of feel like I want to go to a bit of a system like have cohorts for onboarding people, and the procedures for that are shaping up. I would say, yeah, they're getting formalized more and more. So yeah, I wanted to check in, see if anybody has some thoughts on that, or maybe you all feel like, yeah, pilot phase or not, I don't care. That's also fine.
Do you envision something like maybe a, let's say, closeout report? Something like a retrospective, looking back, okay, what happened? What has been key achievements, or maybe key failures as well? You can say, okay.
Yeah, definitely including failures as well. That's where you learn, of course. Yeah, I would almost say these are more important almost. No, but yeah, like yeah, concluding report or reflective report would be part of it, and as well an outlook for the. I think in that way it kind of makes sense to tie it to the end of year. Just yeah, calendar is a pretty natural pacing. So additionally to looking back, I would also include quite some looking forward. Yeah, I would include that as well. Get some plans for the coming year, for example.
I was going to ask to elaborate on it, but after Felix asked you that and you explained a little bit more, I think I have a better idea of what that would look like. And yeah, that sounds good. Like that sounds the pacing of it and what you would do. That sounds like that makes sense to me too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just based on what I have in mind so far, the financials would also be included. Like have a proper thorough look on where which tokens go, and I think we're still well, yeah, right now we still have quite some spending room in our budget. It might get a bit well if the more work groups we're starting, like contributing to these work groups will earn you rewards, so that will mean the spending goes up as well. And right now we have plenty of room for that. It's no problem. But yeah, to get a proper report on the financials there, I think that's going to be useful as well, looking forward for the next year and seeing how much room we have. Like, for example, on the podcast work group right now in total, I think it's 7,500 tokens on a monthly base. And then thinking about something like a social media work group, yeah, automatically the question pops up, like, how does this relate to each other? There's no direct relation in rewards so much, but would this also mean budget should be comparable for a social media work group? Should it be bigger or smaller, actually? Yeah, I do want to have a bit of clarity on the outlines for that. And in a way, the same for the Treasury Guild. That's a bit of a weird one, though, because Treasury Guild sounds like exactly the place where to discuss these type of things. Yeah,
I would think... Sorry to interrupt. No, I would say, I would think that, yeah, they should get at least the amount the podcast is getting, you know, because it's maybe encapsulating even more and more people involved and stuff. But yeah, so I would say at least 7,500 for them, if not more, depending on how things shake out. Makes sense to me, but yeah. It's good. I mean, like, if you can find somewhere to use it, then it's great, you know, now that I'm kind of, for a while, I was like, what does this look like? Where am I going to put this money? But then recently, over the last couple months, it's really seems like you get the clarity, and hopefully you guys get that even sooner for your sake. Not that it really matters too much, but yeah, once like you have that vision of like, what can we do? It was like a conversation with Peter of like, let's get this channel, like, we could do different digital effects or whatever, art for the stuff, and it's like, wow. And then when you get there, it's like, okay, cool. Then it's just like the more the merrier, but you just have to figure out how to spend it in a good way. And obviously it's early phases, so it's not like I have a ton of experience with it, but it does seem it's super nice to have that extra little bit to be able to use to help, pay for stuff for the channel or for what you're trying to do. It does give you a lot of options, more options than obviously I would have at this point. So it's a great program, and where there's that extra room where you guys have more to give, then yeah, seems like we should be probably thinking about more work groups to start, because I mean, it's just ready and waiting to help out with that stuff. So yeah, I'm going to be thinking about more things, and I think, yeah, the community, there's got to be some great ideas out there for more work groups. It's just waiting for your, ideas and initiative. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Fully agree there. Yeah, in a way, right now it's a good position to have less spending than the budget and have room for initiatives. At the same time, it would be interesting if at some point we get forced, like, well, if we want another work group for topic X, then we need to secure more funding. That would also be interesting. We're not quite there yet, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that pops up somewhere during the next year. All right. Yeah, I think right now that pretty much covers what I had planned for today. As always, at the ending, there's room for random topics, questions, anything that bothers you, any thoughts. So please, if anybody wants to ask something or add something, now's the time. And if not, then I'll simply conclude we covered everything very neatly. All right, let's wrap it then. Thank you all for attending, and hope to see you either tomorrow during Deep Fund and Community Governance, or somewhere along the week during either Treasury or Social Media Work Group. And if not, maybe next week during the Townhall. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for hosting.